Congratulations, guys. You've made it this far.
Wow.
Part 3. The final addition to our love story. About a year ago today, we had never really been in this relationship that would lead to eternity. But never ends now. So let's take a look at it. Check it out. Here we go.
My dad and grandfather started coming up here when my dad was a little boy, like 4 and 5 years old. And so that would have been and they came up regularly during the summer all those years. Then my mom came from New York and they got married in 52. I remember coming up here from the time, probably I would start remembering it about age 5. And of course these cabins weren't here, but the cabins that are the old fishing cabins. And I was born in 56, so I can remember starting like around the 60s or 70s. But the old fish lodge, it hasn't changed. Well, you can tell it's ready to fall down. So it looks like it's gonna be here forever. It's so cool to come up here for me because when I look around, everything is the same. I mean, it's like time stood still right here. The lake looks the same, all the cabins and everything all look the same. So it's been a long time, a lot of years.
The story's continuing. Here we are in this place that I love. It's like super sentimental to me and my family with this girl that I now love. Can you believe that? I love this girl at this point. And it's just crazy. I'm like trying to figure out what the heck is even going on. My head's been so fast and it was wild.
So we get here, and again, I thought it was just a vacation with his parents, siblings, and that's it. So we get here, and we first walk up to the cabin. Guess what name is on the top of the cabin? Aspen. So already we're like, wow, what are the odds? This is just looking so good. And then we start unloading, and they're like, let's go see all the others. And I'm like, what? The others? So we have this whole campground and everyone here is related to them. It's like cousins, uncles, second cousins, extended family, sisters of like Drake's grandpas, daughters. Yeah, it's just like
it's the whole network, the whole family. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, like I think it's 5 or 6 cabins full of family, which is just wild. So now Aspen, I can only imagine.
I was like, oh, this is a bigger deal than I was expecting.
And I'm like, well, trial by fire for this relationship. Here we go.
Literally.
We're meeting the entire family, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep. So I feel like vacations either make or break a relationship. So here we are. I'm sleeping upstairs in the loft with his sister, and I were having the 2 beds up there, and then Drake was staying in there, which he actually ended up sleeping on this floor. So it's kind of fun that we're back here telling the story in the place where it all happened. But I remember he was upstairs helping me unload, and just kind of, you know, we never solidified or determined our relationship. So he really swooped in to do that.
I don't really remember how I said it, but popped the next big question that you have in relationships. I asked, will you be my girlfriend?
I think you were like, well, when I introduce you to people, would it be okay if I said that you were my girlfriend? Yeah, that's what you said. And I see, he's smooth, guys, I'm telling you. So I said, of course. And he's like, perfect. And he's like, I love you. And then I was like, I like you a whole lot.
I
Just kidding.
didn't let it discourage me, and I said,
No.
what does that mean exactly?
And I was like, oh shoot. I think I have to tell him how I really feel, but I was so scared to say it. I just toughened up and I was like, I think I love you too. So we already started off the trip on a high. Our relationship was solid and we both said we loved you by this point. So then we just went and had the most fun time ever. I have never gone fishing in my life. And we went to a place called Fish Lake.
So we had to get going on that. That was a never that had to end now. And we just hopped. I think we went spearfishing first, right?
Yeah, we went spearfishing a few days after, and I had no idea what I was doing. His dad was teaching me, and I was like, okay, I think I can do this. Drake's out, like, full on, just pooh, gone. I'm like, okay, I gotta do this. So I'm like swimming around. It's actually one of my favorite things now. It's super peaceful. You're just like floating around, and then you have this little launcher thing. And I did it. I did it.
She did do it.
My first time.
First time, absolutely nails it. And I was so anxious. I had no idea how it was gonna go because the lake is freezing cold, and
I hate to be cold.
Aspen is a little touchy-feely when it comes to animals, so I was like, she's about to spear a fish. She knows what she's getting into, right?
I wanted to be tough. I did feel a little bit bad.
But you were so excited.
I was. See, I like to try new things, and I like when I accomplish those new things. So I speared this fish, and I was honestly more excited to tell his dad that I did, because his dad's the one that taught me. So I come out of the water, and I'm like, Trey, I speared a fish! He was like, good job! And Drake just hears yelling. So he assumes the worst. He thinks I speared a human or something.
Or herself. She was swimming around. My sister was out there with her, and I was like, oh no. Someone's bleeding out. Chum in the waters. The fish are going to have a nice little snack.
But really, I just got the best, biggest, smallest fish ever.
She's getting good at her fish stories. How big do you think it was?
I don't know. I have a picture of it. It wasn't that big. I think we because you don't just let it go. Obviously, I killed it. I killed it. So you had to eat it, and it was like 2 bites. It was pretty fun. But I was proud of it. And this year I'm gonna catch a bigger one.
Yeah.
Spirit.
So we did that. We had her catch a fish out on the line. That was a pretty decent sized one.
Trolling.
Trolling. It was fun.
I didn't know that's what it was called. Your boat goes slow and
That's it.
And I did catch one of those. I think that one was bigger.
That one was bigger.
So we had just the best weekend. His family is so awesome. Literally, all of them are just the most caring people. They just open up their home to you. His parents barely even knew me at this time, and they were so concerned and so considerate of me. And I remember I was talking to your mom the first day about the gospel and family, and I was like, she's just the best. And then his dad, I think, is the coolest man still. You are too, but he's just so cool. So I'm like, I speared fish. He'll be so proud of me. And him and his sister and I got matching shirts, and his brother and I were playing football. So I was like, this is so fun. And all of his relatives and extended family were so fun. So I was loving life. So the last night we're here, we decided to watch a movie. He has like this little portable projector. So we go, drive out, freaking forever to get service to download a movie to watch with everybody. And again, we were just having a good time.
A good time.
And then the movie downloaded, and we were driving back home. I think it's so funny still. So we're driving back from downloading the movie, and I get this overwhelming thought. In the moment, I was like, what? But now looking back, it was totally God being like, listen up. So we're driving, and I just get this thought, you are going to marry him. And I was like, oh. Literally a few days ago, we're like, yeah, I just want to date for a long time and not get married for a while. And then it's like, you're going to marry him. You need to marry him. And I'm like, at this point, it's 3 weeks since I've known him, so I'm like, oh my gosh. But then my head just goes a million miles a minute. You can ask him to attest to that. And I'm like, there's no way. He's gonna live on the other side of the state. I'm gonna live over here. We are doing completely different things. Like, how is that gonna work? Like, he's gonna probably date other people because he hasn't dated a lot, and like all these things. I'm like, this is impossible. How are we gonna make this work?
So this was going on in her head, and she just like, as soon as it happened, I didn't hear it or feel anything, but I like remember her just going.
I was like, do not tell him. So I was just silent.
Just keeping it all right here, and I was nervous. I was like, oh man, did I kiss her bad, or did I say something that upset her, or what's going on? All of a sudden, she just seems very uncomfortable and uneasy when, for a few weeks now, it's just going so amazingly, incredibly smooth. I was like replaying everything in my head. I was like, oh man, what was it that I did wrong? I knew eventually I would blow it. I'm not that smooth, so what's going on? And I just couldn't figure it out. I thought I was doing okay actually, but I like wanted to talk with her. I thought of a few things that it might be.
He was so nervous. He was like, thought something was really wrong. Like, we were watching the movie and I just wasn't saying anything. He's like, are you okay? Are you alright? I was like, yeah. And then I like went upstairs to go to bed, and then like late that night he comes upstairs and he's like, it's like 2 in the morning. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, we'll talk in the morning. Just like go to bed.
And that was the last thing I wanted to do. Then I go back and I'm like, oh man, I knew it. I knew there was something she wasn't telling me. Oh, I blew it. Crap.
But then the next morning, so he was like sleeping on this floor because he loves to sleep on the floor. I come downstairs super early before anybody else wakes up, and we're just like cuddling and talking, and then he's like, so what's up? And I was like, just telling him like, I've had such a fun week and your family's so fun and I love meeting everyone. And then again, I'm like, don't tell him this crazy thought you had. But then I was like, just tell him. Again, I feel like divine intervention came into play, because that is bonkers that I would say that. So I'm like, I have to tell you something though. And he's like, okay. And I go, I think I'm supposed to marry you.
And I was like, awake now. It was early in the morning and I was all of a sudden awake. And it was so wild because I was thinking, she was like, you did this, that made me super uncomfortable, or like, this was really rude that you said, or I don't think this is gonna work. And I'm just like totally bracing for the worst. Instead, she hits me with,
Bomb.
I think I'm gonna marry you.
But he handled it so well.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
He was just like, okay, sweet. Just went with it.
Yeah.
Didn't run, which you probably should have. That's psycho to say that, but here we are today. It all works out.
We were now just trying to figure out how we were gonna make it work. It was like, okay, well, marriage is on the docket now. That's new. So how are we gonna make this work? We've got a 4-hour time gap of travel between us, where we live and where we're gonna go to school and stuff. So how the world is that gonna work?
And I just kept telling him, I was like, how is this gonna work? Like, what are we gonna do? And he was like, don't worry, it'll all work out. Don't worry, I just know it's gonna work out. And I'm like, okay, I trust ya. So we pack up camp and we start to head home, and on the way, I get this Marco Polo from the Tannerites, and I got it before we left, but I lost service, so I couldn't open it. So we finally get back into service, and I just start playing it. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard from them since like before my mission for years, so I just start playing it. They're like, hey Aspen, how are you? Like, we miss you. And like, so we don't know what you're doing or what you're up to, but we just have this job opening and we thought of you. And I'm like, what? So they start telling me, they're like, you know, we want you to run the Tannerites channel and be a co-producer with us, and, you know, get props and videos ready for the film days, and then get the kids and just start filming and be our co-producer. And I'm like, this is awesome. I get to do videos and be with kids and have fun. So it's like this amazing job offer, and then they say, but you'll have to relocate to southern Utah, where Drake is going to school. So we leave and we finally get back to my house, and I tell my mom, because my dad was still at work, I'm like, I got this job offer and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna take it and move to southern Utah. And she's like, what? Like, I just moved home from New York and then I'm moving again. So she's like, oh my gosh. But my parents have always been supportive. And so the next 2 weeks, I think 2 or 3 weeks, we just got everything ready to go, and I literally moved.
The whole story, all of this 3-part video is just like, was so finely detailed by God. And it was just so crazy to see how specific he was and how precise he tuned everything to be. And then it just all played out in perfect harmony. You know, and everything was covered. Us having places to stay. She found an apartment like at the last second, miraculously. We had amazing jobs to go to, you know, supported families, and it was just
everything.
Absolutely crazy how astoundingly well it all worked out.
Yep, it was pretty amazing. So, kind of like what Drake was saying, the biggest thing I took away from this was, if it's supposed to work out, it always does. Regardless if it's like dating or marriage or like just life in general. If things are supposed to work out, it always does the way it's supposed to. So, I had to learn that a lot. Like, I was always so stressed and nervous, like, how's it gonna work out? And what are we gonna do? And like, Drake was always like, it's gonna work out. And then it always did. So, that's my takeaway. It's just like, knowing whatever part of life you're in and whatever you're doing, just trusting that it's always going to work out, that you're in God's hands and it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. I think mine's actually pretty similar. I think just the simple way to say it is faith over fear. You know, there's times in life, I think everyone experiences them. We probably had a few recently, and it's just like, you forget how much you've been given up to this point, right? Or all these amazing things that have worked out to help you and bless you. And that's so important, just to remember to have that faith. Fear's there, it's gonna happen. It's, you know, it'd be unnatural if it didn't, but the faith will always be there. You know, that was always like, we'll see. I don't know how it's gonna work out, but I just know it will be. I know it'll be the right thing at the right time when we need it. And it has been ever since. So
we have a good life, and now we're at Fish Lake round 2.
Yeah, life makes a lot of circles sometimes, and it can be absolutely crazy, a wild ride. But remember, life's